The defending champions have named their squad for the T20 World Cup coming up in 2026 in India. India has named their squad of 15. We got a couple of surprises in the squad. A name that no one saw coming, or at least I didn't see coming, and a name that has been left out that a lot of people are talking about as well. Welcome back to the Inbetween Overs podcast. We're your host of the day's play. I'm Tehran.
And I'm Ishan.
All right. Initial thoughts on the squad.
Like, where do I begin? It's quite interesting because if we look back at the podcast we filmed yesterday, we kind of talked about the same topics, the same big topics that came out after the announcement. As you were alluding to, inclusion of Ishan Kishan, I did not see that as well. And the what was the newly appointed vice captain, Shubman Gill, the the protege of the all format captain has been dropped, and that's big news for Team India.
Yeah, I was completely caught off guard by the Ishan Kishan inclusion. The Shubman Gill inclusion, caught off guard that they did it. I feel it's a good decision that they've done that, which we can get more into. But the Ishan Kishan selection definitely caught me off guard. But the rhetoric around the thinking behind it makes sense to me. So it seems like the selectors have realized that the current template that they have just throws the combination off a little bit. And you and I have talked about this since they've been playing the last 10 T20Is going back to Australia and then the series against South Africa. You felt that there was something off about the combination. They didn't have their balance completely there, and they didn't have that finisher role either. And they have solved that issue by bringing back Rinku Singh, who is a name we have to mention that deserved to be in the team. He didn't deserve to be out of the team. And what I like about this selection is the selectors not afraid to say that they got it wrong in changing the template and went back to a template that worked well.
Yeah, no, as you're mentioning, they're pretty bold calls. And to your point, it does change the combination style that India had, at least when you compare it to the team that they had for the series against South Africa versus what they had maybe last year. It is interesting. I still feel that this tournament is going to be a big test for Sky. I personally feel him and Shubman Gill were on the same fence, and one of them had to fall, and it was unfortunately Shubman Gill. So they trusted Sky. I think that would have been too bold of a move to remove him before the World Cup. But I think they made the right call in sort of keeping the captaincy as it was and making those bold calls for some of the other players as well.
I wonder how much Shubman Gill's injury has had an impact in the selection. I wonder if that had to do with anything either. But nonetheless, I think it is a good call because other than a couple performances here and there, he hasn't been all that consistent in the T20 format. And I do personally believe, I've said this before on a different podcast, where he should focus on tests and one days. He is the captain of both those squads. A lot is going to rest on his shoulders going forward. And so there's already, the international calendar is already super packed. And I think for him to play every single format is going to be extremely hard from a logistical standpoint. And then we're talking about injuries. He just came back from a neck injury that he picked up that some people are saying may be a chronic injury. So you may have to manage that as well and think long term whether it makes sense to include Shubman Gill in the T20I plans. And I feel long term there are enough players in the Indian pool of talent to always find someone to play in the 11 in the top three spot. I mean, you look at the top three right now, we got Abhishek Sharma, Sanju Samson, Tilak Varma, and then Ishan Kishan, who comes in, can slot right into Sanju Samson's spot. So not only is he a backup keeper, but he is an opener as well. He's done really well recently. And so I think you can continuously find players. There's players that have not been talked about. Jaiswal, Sai Sudarshan, they
Yes.
could all fit in that top three as well, right? So I think there's enough pool where Gill can focus in on tests and one days. And so I am completely okay with the non-selection of Shubman Gill.
Yep, and I have no arguments to give because I feel the same way. I don't think it would have been that much of a pushback if they included Gill. I think, there is that concept of recency bias, but in my opinion, he had a notable contribution during the Asia Cup as well. I think him and Abhishek Sharma up top worked. And of course, they won the chip. But to your point, his performances, at least in the South African series, looking back, was he played like he did not play good. And the tournament is in India as well. So that's obviously a big factor. So I think all in all, it's a big, big IPL season for him because I'm sure he has the hunger and thirst to become like a Virat Kohli, to become that all format captain. So I don't think he'll give up on the dream. And again, I don't think it'll be a surprise if post this World Cup, we may see the experiment of Shubman Gill back into the T20.
So India goes back to the template that worked well prior to the Australia series, where there were a couple of series against England and South Africa in South Africa, where we had Sanju and Abhishek at the top. Sanju hit 300s in a span of 4 innings, I think it was. And he looked to have found his touch. There was all this talk about him having so much potential and so much talent and class, but not being able to perform consistently at the international level. He finally looked to have found himself, and just as he did that, he found himself out of the team. So I'm so happy that he gets to prove himself again at the top. So, but what that meant is India had to think about what they wanted to do with Jitesh Sharma, because Jitesh Sharma, yes, he's a backup wicketkeeper, but he's not a backup opener. And I think India wanted to have someone who's a like for like replacement for Sanju, and Ishan Kishan was the name that come up. And it helped that he's been in prime form recently. I believe he won Jharkhand the final in the Syed Mushtaq Ali Trophy, which is the Indian domestic T20 league. And it was a blinder of 100. I believe the selectors were at that game. There is talk that that wasn't the reason. Obviously, that must have helped him. But if you look at his stats in the last 10 innings or so, he's been amongst the runs. And he has international experience. Yes, it's been more than 2 years ago, but he's coming with experience. So it's not like you have to blood someone new in that spot. He should be able to handle the pressure and anything that comes with it when we get into those crunch games in the World Cup.
Yeah, yeah. And, he doesn't seem like the player who is afraid of the lights and the attention. So no, I think I as well welcome his inclusion into the squad. And in my eyes, if we look at both Sanju Samson and Ishan Kishan, what I like is they're both redemption stories. I feel like from Sanju Samson's perspective, it was unfair to drop him because he did so well, as you mentioned, in the South African series in South Africa, a year ago. But for Ishan Kishan, it just seemed like he was so much promise with him that he wasn't able to meet those expectations. So it's nice to see that he may get the opportunity again to sort of perform at the highest stage.
So with the template being changed, it also meant that India had to tamper with who they want at the bottom of the batting order, and they went back to Rinku Singh, who, as we've said before, has deserved a spot in the Indian team. He's been performing whenever he's been asked to bat. He usually comes at that number 6, 7, 8 spot to finish the innings. He is a bona fide finisher. He's proven that multiple times. He's one of the few finishers in world cricket right now, given that Tim David has moved up to the middle order. I would say I can't think of another finisher right now in the same class as Rinku Singh and Tim David. They're able to strike from ball one, and I'm so happy he's back in the squad at the expense of Jitesh Sharma, who, just a quick shout out to him. He's done nothing wrong. I just think it's the way the combination is. I think he'll always be in the conversation of maybe even if something happens to Sanju or Ishan, I feel Jitesh comes right in as backup wiki. Over punt, I will say that, right? So, but going back to Rinku, happy that he's in the squad. And now India has a bona fide finisher, which is something we talked about as well, where they didn't really have that. Yeah, Shivam Dubey, he's kind of hot and cold, but he is more of a middle over specialist. He still needs to spend time in the middle. Whereas Rinku Singh, ball one, he's good to go.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. He was also included in the Asia Cup squad, the one that won the chip. He played, I think, one ball that tournament and scored four, the game winning four. So no, and then we also seen what he's done in the IPL as well. So no, I welcome his inclusion. And I'm also a believer in the philosophy of you need to have finishers in your T20 team. So I do expect him to play as well.
All right, awesome. So if you look at the squad, no other surprises in the squad. Is there anyone that comes to mind that you feel was unlucky or hard done by?
I think, we kind of alluded to some of the players earlier on in the pod. Jaiswal comes to name. Shreyas Iyer has come as well. Obviously, KL Rahul. But to your point, I think it is partly due to the combination as well as the plethora of available players in this format. But I do feel like they both all the players we did mention have the ability to play for India at that level.
So we talked about the crop of batsmen. What about the crop of bowlers? Are you happy with the selection there? Any changes you would have made with the bowlers? Seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah, no, I think it seems pretty straightforward. I think it's nice. I think the combinations between spinners, fast bowlers, and all rounders is exactly what I expected. I think it does go to show that players like a Prasidh Krishna, who had an insane IPL season last season, he's not available in the squad because he just wasn't able to perform at the international level. It was nice to see, and I guess no surprises there with Harshit Rana as well. He's been that all format player, so might as well include him in this format as well.
And he's a bowling all rounder. You can't leave him out.
Yeah, yeah, very true. What about you? Any surprises from a bowling end?
From the bowling end, no surprises for me. India seems to have gone with three fast bowlers instead of four, which is no surprises since they are playing in India. And I can even see India playing as much as just one fast bowler in Bumrah for some of the pitches that they may play on. Let's say they play in a spinning Chennai wicket or a wicket that turns a lot. I could see Bumrah and Hardik being the two fast bowlers and then having a spin trio of Kuldeep, Varun, and Akshar Patel. I could easily see something like that happen. So I like the bowling options. I feel Arshdeep and Jasprit are going to be the main two from a fast bowling perspective, and Harshit's going to be the backup for either one of them, is how I see it.
Yeah, no, exactly the way I see it as well. So it does allow them the flexibility for a more spinning friendly pitch versus a one that favors the seamers, but it allows them the flexibility to sort of have both, I think solid attacks for either or.
And don't forget Washington Sundar, who's slipped into the squad as well. And he provides, again, he's a multifaceted player where he could sub him for a Shivam Dubey. He could play in for a Rinku Singh as well, give you some bowling options because he has the ability to play anywhere in the batting order if you need, in the top, middle, at the lower end as well. And then of course he bowls off spin as well. He could come in as a fourth spinning option as well. So lots of options for India from a spin bowling standpoint.
Yeah, no, exactly that. So with all these different alternatives, have you thought about a potential starting 11?
Yeah, so I got my 11 ready. This is always the exciting part when we talk about squads for me. So I don't see too many surprises from the that they've put out in the past. Obviously, with the changes to the squad, I have Sanju and Abhishek opening. And then we have Tilak at 3, Sky at 4. We know that can change depending on who gets out first, whether it's lefty, righty. We've seen that before. And then I have Akshar at 5, just because we've seen him come at 5 quite a bit. But I understand, I think we talked about this offline, where you never know with Gambhir with the left-right hand combination. So I think that would have a lot to do with it. So I have him at 5. I have Hardik at 6. I have Shivam Dubey at 7, and I'm playing Rinku at 8. So again, my 5, 6, 7, and 8, I can, from a batting perspective, I believe they can swap around. Okay, I think Rinku is probably coming in if there's 2, 3, 4 overs left. We're probably going to have Rinku coming in. I don't think he's going to be facing a lot of balls if he plays. I think he's probably going to face probably an average of 10 balls a game. And so that's why I have it at 7, 8 spot. And then I finish off with the bowlers. So I have Arshdeep, Bumrah, Varun if India go fast bowler heavy, or I should say with two fast bowlers. If they play on a spin friendly pitch, I'm picking Kuldeep instead of Arshdeep.
Okay, well, I hate to break it to you, but we have the exact same players, but the order is different. The order is different.
Okay.
So
Okay.
for me, we're consistent across 1 to 4. I think, fair enough there. But we all know Gambhir is going to throw in Washington Sundar for some reason in there. But for 5, I have actually Hardik Pandya. I think the form he's in, I would want to see Hardik Pandya coming in a little early. So I have Hardik Pandya at
Okay.
5. I then have Shivam Dubey coming in at 6. followed by Rinku Singh coming in at 7 and
Okay,
Akshar
I like
Patel
that.
coming in at 8.
Yeah,
So,
I like
I would say
that.
the players. So again, I can see a scenario where maybe Gambhir follows sort of, similar batting order that you have chosen, but I think there could be a scenario where you may want to give more balls to just say a Rinku Singh as opposed to Akshar Patel in a certain scenario. So you might put Rinku Singh, for example, coming in at 7.
Yeah, I like your setup there because of the form Hardik's been in. And I think that's another reason why India have fallen back to this combination where they've kind of kept Hardik at that sixth spot just because they don't have a lot of firepower at the bottom. And so I could see Hardik coming up. So then that way you still have Rinku there to finish the innings, right? So Hardik gets more time in the middle. And again, the way he's been playing has been phenomenal. But we could even see Shivam Dubey walk in at 5, depending on the bowling attack, right? We've seen Dubey be very, very aggressive against the spinners. And so if you think about some of the spinners in the tournament, like a Rashid Khan, like a Adam Zampa, these are spinners that you want to take out. And he is a lefty against leg spin, makes him a dangerous option. So I could see him coming at 5 early on.
Yeah, no, that's a great insight because that does the flexibility, I think, is what is really distinct with India squad. They have players who you're able to, within the starting 11, move around for certain conditions or even certain scenarios. So I think that's probably the most exciting piece with Team India.
Who is the player that you believe is going to be the X factor from this squad
Oh,
for
that's
the
a
World
great
Cup?
question. That's a great, great question. I think that with the form he's in, I think it's gonna be our guy Hardik Pandya. I think he's gonna get the key wickets, and I think with the bat, I think if we get one out of 3 matches where he's able to perform like he did, I think that's a win for Team India.
All right, I can't fault that selection. He is in the form of his life right now. For me, I'm gonna go with our skipper, Sky Surya Yadav. I think he's gonna be the
Okay.
X factor for India. The sentiment online is pretty bad right now. He's not been in the best of form. People are talking for him. He shouldn't be in the squad. I disagree. I think they've gone with him as the captain. Go until the World Cup. He is a big match player. I think he'll come through. And I feel if he comes through, this entire team is complete because if you look at the squad right now, everyone's in good form. Obviously, we haven't seen Rinku recently, but again, he's coming in that finisher role. I think he'll be fine there. And then Ishan Kishan has been in form. The bowlers have been in form at different match situations. And I feel the only missing link right now for India is having the captain in form. And if we have an informed Sky, India has every chance of bringing home the cup.
Yeah, no, it's an exciting squad, and I definitely think it gives India the great chance to, defend the
Awesome. Good place to wrap it up. Let us know who you believe is missing from the squad that should be in it, or who you believe shouldn't be in the squad that is in the squad. Let us know in the comments below. Let us know what you think about our 11s. If you feel there's any different alternate 11s that you have, we'd love to hear that as well. Until the next series, India gets to test out this squad in the series against New Zealand. It's going to be a lot of fun covering that. Until then, that's Stumps.